Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to my latest gaming news video. I'll be covering recent gaming news as well as some other gaming related things in this video. I'm grateful for any feedback, so if you feel the need to do so, please leave a comment below. You can also like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. I'm now getting some gaming news from the past week or so. And actually, just to add before I start today, I wanted to say that the next 2 weeks I'm going to be pretty busy IRL. I should be able to get the tech news video out Saturday as well as next week's videos, but they will likely be shorter, more concise. Yeah, just thought I'd mention that in case you're wondering, am I doing shorter videos? No, this should only be a thing for the next couple weeks, hopefully. So yeah, apologies if the content is less in length for the next couple weeks, and yeah, thank you for listening to my videos. Anyway, on to the gaming news. First, up to date is some more Unity news. Big update, you could say. After all the backlash that Unity received, CEO John Riccitiello has actually resigned. Riccitiello was formerly boss of EA before becoming head of Unity in 2014, and he's now stepping down from his position as a president, CEO, chairman, and as a board member, with the decision effective immediately. It seems like this is likely due to how bad the situation got with Unity's recently announced runtime fees, which would be levied against game developers. I covered the situation in a couple previous videos. Basically, Unity was going to charge per install any game that was developed in Unity and commercially available. This led to massive backlash from the entire gaming industry, including some developers that cancelled their games, others who have begun porting their games to other engines, and some who vowed to never use Unity in future projects. Unity did apologise and walk back some of the proposed fees, but from what I could tell, the deal still wasn't perfect, and I think the damage was sort of already done by that point. But yeah, now we come to this story, new story. John Riccitiello resigning effective immediately. I'm kind of surprised he has stepped down. I thought he would hold on to power at Unity, but I guess the situation made him rethink this, or Unity as a whole maybe realised they needed a change in management. Though I do need to add this, some people are pointing out that John is simply a scapegoat. He's one of many people who are actually in charge, and it's actually Unity's board of directors were also to blame for the bad decisions made. So even though he is gone from Unity, John, the company could continue to have serious issues go forward. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. John has been Riccitiello has been replaced on an interim basis by former IBM president James Whitehurst. Roloff Botha has also taken his place as Unity's new chairman. So yeah, hopefully when they find Riccitiello's permanent replacement, they have a better track record than him and is sort of less divisive, I guess. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that front. Now we have a few bits of Activision-Blizzard news. First off, Activision-Blizzard said that it is planning to add its games to Game Pass sometime in 2024. This does point to the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal being confirmed, something I'll cover later on in this video. Activision Blizzard has been quoted, as we continue to work toward regulatory approval of the Microsoft deal, we've been getting some questions whether our upcoming and recently launched games will be available via Game Pass. While we do not have plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 into Game Pass this year, once the deal closes, we expect to start working with Xbox to bring our titles to more players around the world. And we anticipate that we would begin adding games into Game Pass sometime in the course of next year. End quote. So yeah, not coming this year, but sometime next year, 2024. I know Call of Duty and Diablo 4 have both received a lot of criticism of late, but still, these games, along with others from Activision Blizzard, will be big additions to Game Pass for a lot of people, I would imagine. But yeah, a lot of people do play Call of Duty and the Diablo games, and many others from the company. But yeah, I think I'd probably give Diablo 4 a go if it went on Game Pass, and Call of Duty 3. I wasn't planning on buying either of them. Um, uh, but yeah, maybe I'll try them if they're on there. I probably would do. But yeah, I'm not too keen on paying full price for them. I'd rather just wait if they're going to be coming to Game Pass. Microsoft also commented on this with plans to, quote, offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalogue. I do hope that if this happens, we'll see some of the older Call of Duties come to Game Pass. Not just the new ones, but the older ones. That would be cool. Going back and playing the original Modern Warfare and with online and things. That would be pretty interesting if they were able to do it. The second piece of related news is about Diablo 4. The game originally released back on the 5th of June of this year and was at first praised and received a lot of glowing reviews. But since then, the game has seen a lot of people turning against it for a number of reasons. I believe the game still has a sizable player base, but it seems to have been falling as of late. And maybe this is why Blizzard are deciding to release the game on Steam, maybe to bolster numbers. I do want to say, and I could be wrong, but I think most people who want or wanted to play Diablo 4 would likely be willing to just get it via Battle.net rather than not Battle Pass. So yeah, I'd be surprised if the game sees a larger influx of players. I'd recommend just waiting for it to come to Game Pass, to be honest, if you're not sure, and we're sort of waiting for the Steam release. But yeah, anyway, like Overwatch 2, another game that isn't so hot at the moment, Diablo 4 will be coming to Steam on October 17th. This Steam release corresponds with the start of the game's second season, the Season of Blood. As noted in the PC Gamer article, the first season, the Season of the Malignant, didn't receive a positive reception from players due to a number of reasons, including nerfs, loot, and balance issues, and so on. Maybe this next season, along with the Steam launch, will help regrow Diablo 4's player base, and maybe it will be positively received. We can only hope, I guess. As with Overwatch 2, however, I wouldn't be surprised if the game receives a negative Steam rating. Although the former game is free to play, so reviews are likely going to be lesser in number than with Overwatch 2. But yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on Steam to see how it's received, and I may do a bit about it in next week's video or the following one. And the final bit of related news is that the previously mentioned Microsoft Activision-Blizzard acquisition may be finalized on Friday the 13th of October. So likely by the time this video goes up, maybe as you're watching or listening, the deal might be being confirmed. According to The Verge, a Microsoft source has indicated that the company is looking to wrap things up on the 13th of October. This would be 5 days earlier than the expected deadline on the deal, which was agreed on back in July. But yeah, I believe that deadline is on the 18th of October. But anyway, following the UK's CMA's Competition and Markets Authority decision to grant Microsoft a preliminary approval, looks like the deal will go ahead. Although, as stated in the Game Informer article, Microsoft may face some more legal challenges before this all comes to a close. If all goes ahead, I will likely give an update on the situation in next week's gaming news video. And up next is some Ubisoft news. Ubisoft has been working on a new free-to-play first-person shooter, which was being billed as a Call of Duty quote rival. This game is XDefiant. I had heard about this game, but didn't really take much notice of it, as I don't play many of these games. After what seems to be a fairly lengthy and troubled development, the game has been postponed indefinitely. This is apparently due to, quote, inconsistencies in the game experience that need to be addressed prior to launch. These issues were revealed apparently during a recent public test session. Just to note, the game had also been delayed previously. The game was actually planned to release later this month, I believe. So to be pulled this close to launch is a bit surprising. Though given the problems Ubisoft is having at the moment, I'm certainly not shocked. Surprised, but yeah, not shocked. Previous XDefiant delays included a release date from what I could tell. However, this delay doesn't come with a new release date. So it does look like the game has been pushed back quite a bit. Potentially indefinitely right now, but I could be wrong. In a recent tweet announcing the delay, I will a new image around here, as always. The tweet, the XDefiant X account detailed, quote, "Thank you to everyone who participated in our recent public test session and continues to stand alongside us as we build XDefiant. The PTS once again showed us your appreciation for our fast-paced gunplay, uniquely crafted maps, objective-driven modes, and iconic faction roster, but it also surfaced some inconsistencies in the game experience that we need to address prior to launching our pre-season. So we've made the hard decision to delay the pre-season of XDefiant. Team will continue working to address these issues and testing them to make sure we deliver on our goal of being a best-in-class arcade shooter. We will share more information about pre-season and testing as it comes. Thanks again for your support. We were working hard to make something really special and we couldn't do it without you." End quote. The game's director and executive producer, Mark Rubin, also commented in a post on X, in short, finished the statement by saying, quote, "So keep an eye out for future updates and info on the game and its launch." Guessing some people might be concerned that the game is soon going to be canned, but the statements from XDefiant and Mark point to it just being delayed. I will say it wouldn't surprise me if Ubisoft decided to pull the plug all of a sudden. I'm kind of getting Heinous vibes from this whole situation. Yeah, actually the game was going to be a free to play shooter, or still is theoretically. So I could see it having a large enough audience, but I really don't think it could compete against Call of Duty. And given that it's free to play, I would imagine there'd be quite a lot of microtransactions and things. Although saying that, you have to pay for Call of Duty at the moment, and there's still stuff with the microtransactions. I guess at least they're cosmetics and things. But yeah, still, you could end up spending a lot of money if you wanted. But yeah, I'm not sure this XDefiant will be cancelled like Creative Assembly's Heinous recently was, but this isn't a great sign. If it does finally release, I'd be surprised if it is supported by Ubisoft in the long run, but I could be wrong. Maybe it will get a sizable enough player base and become a success, and hopefully Ubisoft don't abandon it. But before I move on, actually, Skill Up, who I watch quite often on YouTube, believe he said he quite likes the game from what he's played of testing it so far. So maybe it's not as bad as I originally thought. Next up, a somewhat surprise review, at least to me. I'd covered the potential PS5 Pro and its rumoured specs in a previous tech news video, and I think I touched on briefly a Slim model. Well, now Sony has officially revealed the new PS5 Slim models. They'll include some images of the new design throughout. As with the original PS5, the Slim variants come in both disc and digital versions. Both models are around 30% reduced in volume and 18 and 24% reduced in weight, respectively, disc and digital, I guess they're referring to. There's also an option to purchase an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive to add to the digital version if you wish in the future. I do very much like that idea, actually. The Slim model also comes with, or the Slim models, disc and physical, disc and digital rather, come with 1 TB SSD storage as opposed to the 825 gig of usable storage in the original models. Whether it will actually be 1 TB usable, I'm not sure at this rate. They've just said 1 TB instead of 825 gig. Specs wise, the hardware, the CPU, GPU are the same performance wise. As this is a Slim variant, there wasn't really an expectation to see a hardware revision, at least not one that would boost gaming performance. The new models will be releasing first in the US at select local retailers and direct.playstation.com when or where available. It will launch in other regions as months go on, with no specific dates other than the US at the moment. Additionally, once current inventory of the original PS5 models sell out, the Slim models will be the only ones available. I guess, unless new anyway. I guess newer. Probably get a second-hand one, I would very much imagine, or maybe refurbished. Not really sure. Pricing wise, in the US, the disc version will cost $499, so $500, and the digital version $450. In the UK, the disc version will cost £480 and the digital £390. In Europe, the disc version will cost €550 and the digital €450. In Japan, the disc version is 66,980 Japanese yen, JPY, and the digital 59,980 Japanese yen. It would also seem that the digital model has gone up in price with the new Slim version by around $50. I guess this will vary region to region. I saw somewhere else it being reported $30. Also, the disc drive sold separately, which can be installed to turn the digital version into a disc version, costs $80, £100, €120, or almost 12,000, 11,980 JPY. But yeah, both versions do look pretty sleek, and they shouldn't perform any different to the current models. So if I was in the market for a PS5, I'd likely wait for the Slim models to release. But yeah, both will perform pretty much identically as far as I can tell, although that extra storage is is a nice addition. Now for some quick Sony/PlayStation related news as well, as it relates to Naughty Dog. I'd covered in a past gaming news video that it looks like Naughty Dog are possibly remastering The Last of Us Part 2, akin to the most recent The Last of Us Part 1 remaster. And some more evidence has further increased the likelihood of a remaster of Part 2. This evidence comes in the form of a Naughty Dog developer's LinkedIn profile. A developer who is a lead outsource artist currently with Naughty Dog shows on their LinkedIn profile that they are, quote, responsible for overseeing the production of all outsourced environment art, assets, weapons, and interactive props for The Last of Us 2 Remastered. But yeah, this was noticed by X user Dom the Bomb. I still haven't played actually The Last of Us Part 2, though I do have a PS4 copy. I was going to play through both games at some point and I have played the first one. I have the original remastered PS4 copy. But yeah, I really loved the first game, but just didn't get around to playing the second one. I'm guessing this potential remaster of Part 2 will come to PS5 and maybe later to PC. Or at the same time, I'm not sure, as the Part 1 remaster is on PC now. I feel it's kind of soon for a remaster, as Part 2 only came out in 2020, but that's up to Naughty Dog, I guess, if they want to release one so soon. I'm not sure why they feel the need to do so, though. Maybe because the PS5/PC remaster of Part 1 sold well and they want to get another remaster out to sort of capitalize on that. Next up, a quick Redfall update. I wasn't expecting to cover Redfall again, but here we are. I think Redfall is one of the first game news things topics I covered in my first ever video on this channel when I was doing more podcast like format, and gaming and tech news were combined into one video. But yeah, just to briefly go over Redfall, it did very poorly on launch, as it was received very badly. On Steam, it is also still doing very badly, with only 21% of recent reviews being positive. This has actually dropped recently as well, as all reviews are at 30%. Overall, the game was a massive flop for Arcane, so yeah, pretty bad, especially for an Arcane game. I will say, just briefly, as I mentioned the first time I played it, or the first time I spoke about the game, I didn't actually mind Redfall. I did actually finish it with the story pushed sort of through it with one character, Layla. But yeah, it really had a lot of issues though, and I sort of had to push myself through it. It's just like um, these days I like when I start a game, unless I'm really losing interest or something, I will generally just push right through it. But I didn't mind it too much. But yeah, I definitely understand why a lot of people really hated the game. And I did have a really quite a big amount of issues. I was quite surprised actually. But yeah, so the news related to Redfall is that surprisingly the game is still being supported by Arcane and Xbox. I genuinely thought it was done, and they would just let it slip sort of silently into the night, so to speak. But yeah, it doesn't seem that that is the case, at least not yet. And this update finally adds in a 60 FPS performance mode for console. I feel it really shouldn't have taken this long for the Xbox consoles to get this mode. Redfall is a first party Xbox game after all, it really should have launched with this. The update also brings some other improvements like stealth takedowns, another thing that should have been in game at launch, and performance UI and accessibility fixes. There's also an increase in the open world enemy population and apparently new encounters. I'm doubting that this update will make much of a difference to the game, player count wise anyway. The game does seem to have a few more players playing it, at least on Steam. 30 people were playing it when I checked, with a peak of 24 peak of 54, I think. So yeah, those are still really bad numbers. Maybe it's doing better on Xbox. I'm not sure. I don't think they give official numbers like you can find on Steam generally. But yeah, I'm all for it if they can revive Redfall. But given how low these numbers are, and if they don't improve, I'd be surprised if Redfall isn't abandoned in the coming months. I really can't imagine a No Man's Sky rebirth for Redfall. But you never know. I guess never say never. They might turn the game around. But yeah, I don't really see that, but you never know. So the final two news bits for today, before we move on to the upcoming games, are Forza Motorsport and Total War Pharaoh. I did want to just cover how both are being received. I know I've covered game reception multiple times in the past, generally as main news topics. But I think going forward, I would do game reception as its own bit at the end of the main news. But yeah, still part of the gaming news, but just as its own sort of ending session. But I'm not going to do this for every game that I cover in the previous videos, relative videos, upcoming section, only for the games that are big releases or games that I'm interested in, or I guess games with a lot of controversy, maybe, or games that are doing really well, like when I covered how well Baldur's Gate 3 was doing. But yeah, anyway, the the latest Forza and Total games actually fit into the I'm very much interested in category there. They're both highly anticipated as well by their respective fan bases for varying reasons, some better than others, you might say. Personally, I will start off with the one I've actually played, and that is Forza Motorsport. It's a reboot, so it's just literally called Forza Motorsport, or I might refer it to Forza Motorsport 2023 throughout the video. If you watch last week's video or other ones where I've covered Forza Motorsport, then you likely know I'm a fan of the old games. I've played Forza Motorsport 3, 4, 7, and now a bit of Motorsport, the newest one, 2023. Um, and I think my favourite is, yeah, definitely still Forza Motorsport 4, although 3 is pretty good as well. And I have played a little bit of Forza Horizon, but yeah, not enough. I do want to try them someday. Try them, get them into them properly, maybe. Before I get into how I feel about the game so far, I will cover how it's doing on Metacritic and Steam. Forza Motorsport 2023 has a Metascore of 85 and a user score of 7.1 at the time of checking. On Steam, when I checked, the game has a mixed rating with 43% of all reviews being positive from around 1,330 reviews. So not as great on Steam as on Metacritic. Now for my thoughts, I was sort of hoping to get back into Simcade racing game like Forza, as it's been so long. But as with Forza 7, I've sadly found myself let down again. I think I may actually prefer Forza 7, which is not ideal. I am considering installing Forza 7 again just to see if I really do prefer it or not. But just I'll say this is a major issue that I'm getting with the game at the moment. The game keeps crashing every time I finish a race without fault at this point. But yeah, this is a big issue. I've seen that a lot of other people are having performance issues on PC. The game runs fine FPS slash performance wise for me, but when a race ends, it just crashes the desktop and says the graphics driver has crashed. I understand this could be graphics manufacturer specific, but it is another blow for me, as I have to restart the whole game after every race at the moment, which yeah is getting quite frustrating. Gameplay issues I had with Forza Motorsport 7 are still there in some ways, like the fact that I was given a 900 plus rank Porsche 911 just because I own number 7, which just sort of messed up progression for me. I was also given a Civic race car for some reason. I'm not sure how I ended up with that. I sort of cause yeah, I'm not very far into the game. But yeah, I prefer building up, not being given supercars when I've just started. And yeah, I was worried this would happen. The upgrades being locked behind specific car levels is also a thing I don't like. In previous games, as long as you had the money, you could spec your car how you wanted, but now each car has an individual level. As you level up a car racing with it, that allows you to unlock and buy upgrades. Though the upgrades are bought with car points or something, I think they're called, instead of cash. In short, I don't like it at all, really. Everything just feels so easy and linear and handed to you on a plate. Why can't we just go back to the days of Forza Motorsport 4 or Gran Turismo 4, where you own most things and have to build it up, and you can customize your car any way you like, and customize it in a way to run it in a lower rank racing cup or a higher one. And but yeah, I'll add there is one positive for me so far, and this has always been a positive for me when it comes to the Forza games. That is the car customization, the paint, like the look of the car, the paint, the vinyl slash decals, ability to use community art designs, etc., and design your own whole uh, vinyl groups for each car. This is still really good from what I can tell so far. I don't want to drag on about Forza Motorsport, but still don't. I just still don't enjoy it like the older ones. Yeah, it would seem some people agree with me, but as I've noticed, a lot of people do not, which is fine. But for me at the moment, I'm not really that keen on it. Maybe in the future, especially if they stop crashing, maybe in the future, I might get back into it and give it another go again. But so far, I'm not really liking the certainly the progression. That's my main issue, and the upgrade system. Yeah, I really don't like. But yeah, in conclusion, I don't think I'll be playing much more of Forza, the new one, especially if the crashing continues. Just wanted to give it a decent shot, and it's not going so well for me so far. I guess I'll just go back to playing Gran Turismo 4 or Motorsport 4 when I feel like playing a racing game. Um, and in case you want full reviews for the game, The spotlight section for today will feature 3 reviews by YouTubers who I believe mostly do racing content. I'll go into video specifics later in the spotlight section. Right, anyway, I'll try not to go on too much about Pharaoh. I haven't played it, so there won't be a mini rant. I'll simply go over how it's being received. So, Total War Pharaoh, as I covered in my last gaming news video, is the latest historical Total War. From what I can tell, Pharaoh has been getting a lot of backlash. I think mainly from the Total War community believing it is more akin to a Total War saga game like Troy and not a fairly fledged historical Total War. I do see where they're coming from, but I'm waiting to see how it ends up on release. But yeah, now the game has released. Score/ratings wise, on Metacritic, the game has a Metascore of 76 based on 31 Metacritic reviews. As for user score, it wasn't up at the time of checking, but if it shows up by the time of editing, then the score will be shown alongside its Metascore when I put the screenshot up. On Steam, when I checked, the game has a mixed rating with 61% of all reviews being positive from around 289 reviews. So the game is doing okay, better than Forza on Steam, but worse than Forza on Metacritic. Although I guess the user reviews aren't out for it yet, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I have to say I thought Total War Pharaoh was going to score worse, to be honest, given how much negativity was surrounding the game. 61% on Steam isn't great, but it also isn't abysmal, I'd say. It does make me want to give the game a go someday. It doesn't seem quite as bad as I was expecting it to be. I'm going to go ahead and watch a few reviews of the game, like I did with Forza before I make the decision. And yeah, maybe it's actually not quite as bad as people were thinking. But the mixed rating on Steam, obviously, yeah, it's not great. But we'll see. I guess it's still quite early days for the game, and yeah, may try it out someday. Now for the upcoming games section. This week we have quite a few games to cover, including a really big one, and as always there will be relevant footage throughout. First up today we have the Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection. I covered this a little while ago as the game company Limited Run Games were remastering a number of older classic titles and releasing physical copies of them. Something Limited Run are known for at this point. But this Jurassic Park collection comes with 3 classic Jurassic Park games, though there are several variants to them, with versions releasing for the NES, Game Boy, Sega, Genesis, SNES across those variants. The 3 actual games you get, from what I could tell, are Jurassic Park, it's just titled Jurassic Park Part 2, The Chaos Continues, and Jurassic Park Rampage Edition. The collection also adds new features to each game, including to limited run games. On their site, they detail that, quote, this release includes a lineup of classic titles and adds new features to the games, including save states for each game, new in-game maps, and various quality of life fixes that bring these titles into the modern era of gaming. Haven't played any of these games. I've watched the video on the first one. I think it was the first one, but I can't see myself playing it or getting the collection. However, I'm sure a lot of fans of the original games will be happy to buy this. The only classic Jurassic Park games I've played are The Lost World Jurassic Park, which came out in 1997 for the PS1 and the Sega Saturn. I really like that game. One of my earliest memories of video games was, playing that game on the PS1. I actually played through part of it recently, and it still holds up with the help of emulation. It is quite a hard game, I must admit, though I found it harder as a kid. The other Jurassic Park game I played was Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which released in 2003 for the PC, PS2, and original Xbox. Another game I really like and have a copy of. But yeah, anyway, Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection is releasing on the 15th of October, and it is only coming in physical format, I believe. And it's coming to the Xbox Series X, PS5, and 4, and the Nintendo Switch. It may come digitally someday, but Limited Run Games specializes in physical releases, so I don't know on that front. Likely not, but it could be wrong. The second game in today's upcoming game section is actually an interesting one, is Skull Island Rise of Kong. I had covered this game's announcement in a previous gaming news video, as it's kind of interesting. The game wasn't what I think a lot of people were expecting the new King Kong game to be. It looks quite low quality and not very impressive. It kind of looks like it should just be a mobile game, but it in fact is coming to PC and consoles. Graphically, it looks quite simplistic. There's a decent amount of color, I guess. Which is good if you like colorful games, I guess. But graphically, and art design wise, it's nothing special. It does have a cartoon sort of feel, I guess, to it as well. And some people have been saying that it reminds them of Gollum, which isn't the best thing to be compared to. When I originally heard of this game, before I checked the trailers, I thought, awesome, hey, a new King Kong game. Maybe it would be like the 2005 movie tie-in game, which was an amazing game. I thought I'd actually play through that again on the 360 a few months back, and it's still pretty great. But alas, this is not the case with Skull Island Rise of Kong. It's basically nothing like Peter Jackson's King Kong game, though I suppose you do play as Kong at least. So yeah, you basically play as Kong and must fight all manner of Skull Island creatures. But yeah, I actually prefer the graphical and design of the 2005 game, to be honest. But yeah, really interested to see how this game is received and whether it is any good. You never know, it might actually be fine. But from what they've shown so far, this doesn't seem to be the case. Skull Island Rise of Kong is releasing on the 17th of October and is coming to most platforms, PC, current last gen consoles, and the Switch. I might end up reporting on how this game does, as I'm quite intrigued to see how, if we do indeed have another Golem on our hands. I hope not. And just to add, with all the remasters and remakes being announced and released the past few years, I'd like to see a new King Kong game like the 2005 game, or a remake or a remaster. But someday, I really enjoy that game. I guess we'll have to wait. I don't really see it happening, but hopefully it will. Next up is a new Sonic game, Sonic Superstars. This is a new 2D side-scrolling Sonic platformer akin to the older Sonic games, but with a modern spin. I haven't really played many Sonic games, not since the two Sonic Adventure games back in the day for the Dreamcast and their ports to the GameCube, etc. I vaguely remember playing one of the 2D Sonic games, but I can't remember where, maybe at a friend's house or something. But this is all just to say I've not really played many Sonic games, but yeah, there are a ton of them. This new one looks like you'd imagine a modern take on a 2D side-scrolling platforming Sonic game in a 3D engine. It isn't entirely 2D like the old ones were. Graphically, it looks fine. It does the job as you probably expect for a Sonic game. There is a lot of color and environmental variation. I think it would have been cool if they added a renderer switch where you can swap between the old school graphics and the modern graphics, like you can in some games like the Halo Master Chief Collection for the first, I think it's the first two games maybe. But yeah, unless I missed it, I don't think this is the case for Sonic Superstars. I guess it isn't a remaster or remake, so I guess that's fair. Gameplay wise, is mostly what you'd expect as well, though there are four playable characters: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. I suspect Sonic fans will like this game, as it does seem quite feature and content rich. Some interesting gameplay elements are noted in the description. Quote, harness the power of the Chaos Emerald, multiply, swim up waterfalls, change form, and more with the powers of the Chaos Emeralds. But yeah, Sonic Superstars does include 4-player local co-op, and I don't think online co-op is a thing, however. There is a local/online challenge mode, though, with up to 8 players. Sonic Superstars is releasing on the 17th of October and is coming to PC as well as current and last gen consoles and the Switch. Now for a roguelite tactical action tower defense game, Endless Dungeon. The game is set in the Endless universe. The Endless games are a number of strategy games made by Amplitude Studios, who are a pretty popular developer from what I can tell. I've not played any of the Endless games, but I have heard a lot of good things about them. These are games including Endless Legend and Endless Space, among others. They're not the type of strategy game I usually play, but I wouldn't mind trying one in the future. Just to add, Amplitude also made Humankind, a Civilization style 4X strategy game, which is apparently an okay game, but it does have a mixed rating on Steam. So it doesn't score as well as their other games. But yeah, Endless Dungeon, however, is different. It's not a 4X. It seems more similar to Dungeon of the Endless, which is a roguelike dungeon defense game, which has a which was a very well received game. The description for Endless Dungeon reads, quote, you're stranded on an abandoned space station chock full of monsters and mysteries. To get out, you'll have to reach the core, but you can't do that without your crystal bot. That scuttling critter is your key to surviving the procedurally generated rooms of this space ruin. Sadly, it's also a fragile soul, and every monster in the place wants a piece of it. You're going to have to think quick, plan well, place your turrets, and then fireworks. End quote. I suspect tower defense fans will be wanting to check this game out, as it does look like a pretty good game in the genre. Graphically, it looks quite nice. I do like the art style and direction. It's quite dark, but also colourful and vibrant. The stylized look here yeah, it is very well done. But Endless Dungeon is releasing on the 19th of October and is coming to PC, current and last gen consoles, and the Switch. Got quite a few actually upcoming games this week to cover. But next up is an interesting one. It brings back childhood memories of some cartoons I used to watch, I guess. It is Gargoyles Remastered, a remaster of the 1995 Sega Genesis game of the same name, based on the Disney animated series of the same name. I do remember watching that as a kid, vaguely. So yeah, with this being a remaster, the game will be a 2D platformer where you control Goliath, the series' main protagonist, as you try to save the world from destruction and evil forces. As stated in the description, quote, Gargoyles Remastered is an artfully crafted revival of the 90s classic 16-bit side-scrolling platform adventure. Relive the epic journey of Goliath and the Gargoyles, featuring enhanced visuals, animations, and SFX, all inspired by the acclaimed animated series. I haven't played the original 95 game, but I did know of it, and I have heard positive things about it. I might give it a go someday. This remaster looks pretty good though. The updated visuals do look nice and give it a more cartoon-esque look, similar to the animated series. I believe that's what they're actually going for. Though I do feel the original game's graphics still look okay, but definitely dated by today's 2D standards. I do like the dark aesthetic with which this remaster still keeps to some extent. Not sure why, but the older 2D and 3D, for that matter, graphics engines for some games make them look darker and more spooky, I guess. Kind of how the original PS1 Resident Evil is still pretty foreboding and scary in its own way, I guess. But anyway, the developers of Gargoyles Remastered seem to have done a good job updating the game to modern standards while still keeping it authentic to the original. They even remastered the soundtrack, which is cool. They also added the feature I mentioned earlier, quote, seamlessly toggle in real time between graphics inspired by the anime series and classic 16-bit mode true to the original game. But yeah, I'm always glad when remasters include that rendering swap system. In the games I've played that do it, I mostly play in the modern style, but it's cool to see how the original looked and played for a while like it. Gargoyles Remasters is releasing on the 19th of October and is coming to PC as well as current and last gen consoles and the Switch. A lot of games today are releasing across the platform spectrum. It is good to see. The next two don't though, but for obvious reasons. And yeah, now for a really big one, and that is Spider-Man 2, the sequel to 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man, a great game. I believe it is also a direct continuation of the story in Spider-Man Miles Morales. This is a big Sony exclusive. I suspect this is going to be a massive seller, as the first game was the best-selling game on the PS4 with around 20 million copies sold, and the series has sold around 33 million units from sales figures I read. These were from over a year ago via PlayStation's own blog. I really enjoyed the first game. I think it was the last game I played on my PlayStation 4, and that was a little while ago, maybe a few years at this point. But yeah, I need to go back and play some PS4 games. It's been too long. But yeah, I'd say it was finally the true successor people were waiting for to the amazing PS2, GameCube, Xbox game Spider-Man 2, which came out in 2004. But yeah, from what they've shown so far of Spider-Man 2, looking like Insomniac has done it again and made a fantastic open world Spider-Man game. In this one, though, you can swap between Peter and Miles on the fly, from what I understand. Kind of like how in GTA 5 you can swap protagonists. But yeah, that sounds pretty cool to me. As you might expect, the game looks very graphically impressive. Insomniac do know how to push their games to get them to look great on the PS5. Like how the first game got a PC port, I am hoping this game gets one eventually too. Story-wise, Marvel Spider-Man is set after the events of the first game and the standalone game, as I mentioned, Miles Morales, and sees Peter and Miles teaming up to face one of Spider-Man's most iconic enemies, Venom. And the game has you swinging around an expanded version of New York City, which incorporates parts of Brooklyn and Queens. This is leading to the map being nearly double the size of the one in the first game. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing this someday, and I will likely cover how it's being received in a future news video. Spider-Man 2 is releasing on the 20th of October and is coming solely to the PlayStation 5. And the final game for today is a Nintendo exclusive game, and that game is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is a 2D side-scrolling platformer, as opposed to the more Mario 3D platformers. It is, according to the wiki, the first side-scrolling Super Mario game since 2012's new Super Mario Bros. U. Just thought I'd add that I haven't really played many Mario games. I played a bit of Super Mario 64, and one of the old 2D ones. That's actually another very early gaming memory. But none of the recent ones. I wouldn't mind giving them a go someday, however. But yeah, you probably know what a 2D Mario game entails, and yeah, this does seem to mostly fit the traditional gameplay, Mario gameplay to a T. There are a number of Mario Universe characters you can play as, including Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, and so on. There are also a number of power-ups, like a fruit that turns you into an elephant, a flower power-up that allows you to capture enemies, and a drill mushroom, among a bunch of other things. There's also 2 to 4 player local and online co-op. It's good to know it's got online co-op as well. Graphically, it's what you would expect as well, full of colour, rather vibrant and very stylized. Does look pretty nice. Mario fans will likely be very happy with how the game looks. If you're into Mario games, especially 2D side-scroller ones, this is likely a game you will enjoy playing. I think generally the Mario games are nearly all very well received by their fans. So yeah, I don't expect this to be any different, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is releasing on the 20th of October, and it's coming solely to the Nintendo Switch. So that is the upcoming game section for this week done. As I mentioned earlier, the spotlight section, we're on to that next. As I mentioned, yeah, there are 3 videos. Yeah, 3 videos for this week's spotlight section. They are really good videos, and they are reviews / impressions of Forza Motorsport 2023, as I spoke of earlier. So Shiny Odd is more in the camp, so to speak, and in my sort of camp on how Forza are not enjoying it as much, I guess, maybe. And Super GT seems to like the game, but doesn't think it's anything amazing or anything, but he seems to more prefer the game than I certainly do. Definitely check both of those reviews if you want a summary of the game from 2 different perspectives, I guess. They're both great videos, and I respect both their reasons for either disliking or liking the game. Just to add, I've actually added this in sort of last minute. This is the 3rd video I sort of alluded to, but yeah, I will be including another review I watched for the game, a more lengthy video. Give it a watch as well if you're interested in Forza. It's by Pharaoh, who explains the upgrade system and the issues with it, among other things. But yeah, 3 pretty interesting videos, especially if you're interested in Forza. I will link them in the spotlight section of the description. But yes, so that's all the game coverage from me today. We'll be publishing a tech news video tomorrow, so check back for that if you're interested. As I mentioned earlier, the next few videos might be a bit shorter for the next couple weeks, as yeah, I'm a bit more busy at the moment. But yeah, and anyway, as always, feedback is appreciated, so go ahead and like or dislike and leave a comment. If you enjoyed my videos and commentary, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back again soon.